To start filtering a report, you just need to click on the Modify Report button. Or of course you can apply the filters when you first create the report. Let's look at applying some filter settings from the very beginning. One thing to consider is, do you need all the data all the time? What you can do is apply specific dates and also specific times within the date. So for this particular report, I only want to report on calls between 9 in the morning and let's say 6 o'clock at night. Okay. So this report is now only going to include calls from between Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. Moving on to the filter tab, this allows us to start applying those more granular and detailed filter settings. So the thing to bear in mind here is all of these filter settings can be applied to any Akixi report. So if we start with the telephone number, we can filter the report to only include calls that include numbers in this field, and you can include multiple telephone numbers. So a couple of ways you would filter on telephone numbers are, for example, on a calls by day report. Let's say you've got a very important customer and you want to see the call activity surrounding that customer on a day by day basis. So what you would do is you would enter that customer's telephone number here, and then your report would only include call data that included that telephone number. Another way you'd use filtering by telephone number would be, for example, in a historical call list report, where you want to look up a specific call that attains to a specific telephone number, such as when dealing with a customer complaint, when you need to find a specific call attaining to a specific phone number. A couple of quick tips you can apply when entering phone numbers, and this tip can also be used in devices or agents, and that is the use of those wildcards, ranges, or exclusions. So to give you a quick example, I want to run a calls by day report that does not include any mobile numbers. To exclude a number, start with an exclamation mark. So as we know, mobiles start with a 07, so we've put a 07 in there. We're now saying exclude anything that starts with 07. Well, no, actually what we're saying there is exclude anything that is 07. And of course that's another phone number, so we need to add a wildcard. And you do that by adding an asterisk. And what this would say now is exclude anything that starts with 07. So any mobile number is now not going to be included in this report. That's generating a report on an exclusion. So what happens if you want to generate a report only on specific numbers? So for example, 01, 02 and 03 numbers and exclude everything else. Well, here's what you do. Pretty much the same. Then to separate the numbers you use a comma. So 02, comma 03. And now what you've got is a report that will only return anything that starts with 01, 02, 03 and exclude everything else. So move on to the devices field, and these are devices or extensions that are being monitored with Akixi on the telephony platform. So there's a couple of ways you can go around selecting specific numbers, and the first one of course is to drop down the menu and then just pick the extensions that you want to include. As you can see there, it's building the filter string for you. And if you only wanted to see calls attaining to those 4 extensions, that would be a really quick and easy way to do it. And of course you can do that on the Supervisor screen while you're looking at the report using the device filter drop down at the top. So that's all well and good, but what happens if you want to generate a report and exclude people? Very similar thing. All you have to do is right click on the people you want to exclude, and you'll see you get a little red cross there. And now this report will exclude those individuals. And as you can see, the report has prefaced the extension number with an exclamation mark. And because in a lot of instances when you're filtering, you're going to be working with ranges of numbers. What you can do is either select that range of numbers, which is easy enough, but if you've got a lot of numbers you want to select, what you see that the field has automatically done is applied a range. So just filter on 100 to 110. Rather than including every individual extension one by one. So that's how you would include a range. Same again if you wanted to exclude a range. So put an exclamation mark at the front. That now tells this report to exclude extensions 100 to 110. So if we drop that down, you'll see there that that's now altered the drop-down menu. And you can combine ranges, exclusions and wildcards to come up with all sorts of different types of device filtering. And don't forget, devices are not just extensions, devices can also be hunt groups. So if you want to filter a report on a specific hunt group or a specific set of hunt groups, then the same filtering applies as whether it's an extension or a hunt group. Moving on to ACD agents. filtering, it works in exactly the same way as extension filtering, where you can use the drop-down menu, or you can manually input ranges, exclusions, wildcards, however you need to do that. We've then got the locations to and from, which allows you to only include call data from specific directions from certain devices. You can look at miscellaneous filtering. The first one being call type direction. Quite a simple one and quite commonly used. And that is not only direction, but internal or external. So you can let's look at internal calls only, or outbound calls only, or let's just look at external inbound or external outbound. Then we've got the answer type. If, for example, you want to run a historical call report and display only abandoned calls, this is where you would specify that type of call. Or you want to only look at calls that were overflowed into a group. Where did they come from? Why is this group getting so many overflowed in calls? Then we've got DDI digits. DDIs are an entity within the telephony platform, so Akixi can report on them. And like devices, you can also filter on them. And the same selection methods, range, exclusions, wildcards can be applied to DDI digits that can be applied to, say, devices. You can specify call records that only attain to a specific account code or multiple. So, for example, show me how many calls we got last week on a day-by-day basis for a specific account code. So I want to know how many calls last week went to the wrong department. And the call identifier field wouldn't necessarily be used in day-to-day reporting. It's more of a diagnosis facility. But if you want any more information, don't forget to press F1.